What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about GameStop. Give you a quick overview of some of the data points, break it down on what is moving it and why this might be a very good opportunity to buy. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So GameStop is down 3.95%, 22.05 the low, 23.03 the high. So a lot of volatility, but at the same time, you're seeing rather low volume. So 4.6 million for volume, 8.23 is the average. Majority of the transactions occurring today are linked to algorithmic trading as well as shorting. And as I mentioned in my last video, you have lower volume, shorts involved, and you wonder why there's manipulation. So typically lower volume days is very easy to kind of shorts use it as a puppet master, if that kind of makes sense. But no news today, no SEC filings associated to GameStop, so it is just kind of at the mercy of the broader market. And this is where algorithmic trading is coming into play, so there's a hell of a lot of fear. Broader indexes are all pulling back. Even right now, NASDAQ is down 2.41%, S&P 1.5%, Dow is down 0.6%. So a lot of blood in the market, a lot of different interpreting factors though, one of which is data that has been coming out over the last couple of days, GDP, jolt, not great whatsoever, and plus now you're combining that with somewhat not the best earnings from Meta and whatever else. So we'll just have to wait and see what does happen, but shorts right now are returning roughly around 3.3 thousand shares. So drop in the bucket overall, but 8.48% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 34.64 million shares. Cost to borrow average is 0.99%. Utilization is 29.93%. So in my opinion, I think this is somewhat of a unjustified pullback because based on over here, there's roughly around 2.7 million shares available to be shorted. So if shorts really did feel that this was the end all be all, the start of a massive downtrend, they would easily double down, but they're not. So that's how I like to interpret that. And then on the flip side, you do see, even though somewhat lower volume, big money is buying the dip. So 3 transactions so far on the secondary market above $100,000. All are buys. One for 289,000, 106,000, and then 103,000. Dark pool very popular. Dark pool often enough linked to shorting and whatever else. So this is a very popular exchange for GameStop as per normal. So this is where a lot of the kind of sketchy trades are hidden. But in my opinion, based on a lot of the data points, this is a very good time to buy because when it comes to a lot of kind of spec plays, growth stocks, it comes back onto their balance sheet. And I think that's one thing that everyone now knows about GameStop is they have a massive moat around them. A lot of people didn't really understand exactly what is happening, but potentially they maybe have this massive float just in case of a pullback or possibly more hard economic times ahead. So by having that float around them, that adds a lot of security and safety. So once again, that might be a appealing note for investors to get in on GameStop. But quickly going over to IBKR, I've been monitoring exactly what analysts have been doing behind the scenes and stuff like that. No new analyst ratings, but on the actual chart itself. So as I mentioned in my video right around here, I said that this was poised to a breakout to roughly around that $25 range and kind of came close to had a high of roughly $24.53. And so I think there is still a lot more room for it to go up. So I have the ALMA 50, 100, and 200-day moving average, super trend, MACD, stochastic RSI. So right now it is somewhat overbought, but then again, given what has happened to it, somewhat justified. As of today, it is pulling below the ALMA, but still generally above the 50-day moving average. And in GameStop's case, that 50-day moving average is absolutely key. So when it comes to it, I still think that there is still a lot more room for it to go up. And the fact that shorts aren't doubling down, big money is buying, this is just a temporary blip overall. So yeah, I think in general, this is just more consolidation and then potentially going into most likely early next week. This is where you will see kind of higher highs ultimately. So let me know your thoughts. Do you disagree? Do you see more upside and everything else when it comes down to that? And yeah, like I said, I think right now just GameStop's stuck in limbo. A lot of people just generally hate GameStop because of it just commonly being seen as a nothing more than a meme stock. But with that float, I think a lot more people, if things get bad out there, within data points and the economy, this is where even the most biggest value investors might start looking at GameStop. But that's just, once again, my opinion overall. So let me know your thoughts on GameStop. Are you a buyer? Are you a seller? What have you been doing with GameStop? Quickly going over to options. I like to look at options because it is a good sentiment on what big money is truly doing behind the scenes. But 11 million in calls, 1.47 million in puts. 48% of all the options being done today are bearish. But if you kind of look at this, it says another story, because of the call options that are being purchased, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $25 pretty much for the next several weeks. So still a lot more optimism is on the table. And then looking at puts, you see a consensus for it to be sub roughly 22 to 21.50. And that's just merely this week alone. So I think there is still a lot more upside anticipated. And like I said already, shorts not doubling down, big money actually buying the dip. Just algorithms are kind of one of the biggest factors why GameStop is going down today. If you factor all of that in, I think there is still a lot more upside to be had. But right now with it at $22.39, it is right below this point right here of this pivot. Sorry, I just actually adjusted right now. So above this pivot point. So 22.42 is going to be a key point to watch for. So right now that is good support. And then $24.60. Very wide gaps based on the fib levels. So essentially you are going to see a continuation of volatility for the foreseeable future. But in my opinion, like I said, I think that this is poised to at least hit that $25 range. And then dependent on the data points and everything else at the time, this is where it could either potentially break above that or once again consolidate a little bit more. So let me know your thoughts on that. Two things I want to share with you. Take advantage of this promo. It does give you 8 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. This is a kick-ass deal that you must take advantage of. And plus free is amazing. So that's definitely one to watch for. And then as well, I did launch memberships for this YouTube channel. So if you like the channel, want to support the growth, you can definitely join as a member. Or if you want buy signals on stocks and options, then you can also take a look at that. And GameStop was actually one of my recommendations when it was at the high 20s. So I threw that in there and I put a kind of prediction for it to hit that $24 to $25 range. And lo and behold, there it came. So I think GameStop, like I said, still has a lot more room to go up. But if you want those signals, definitely take a look at my memberships. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.